Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia and this is the Frontline Changes report for the past 24 hours. And so we have quite a number of frontline changes today. So let's start off with the Sumi front. Over at the Sumi front, this is Sumi. The Russians are attacking in this northern sector, and we have frontline changes over at Oleksievka. So geolocation of Russian forces in these two different positions confirm the Russians advance across this entire front line, expanding the zone of control and protecting Oleksievka with some buffer around on the east and the south. So it is likely that the Russians are still going to continue to attack eastward. And for the south is probably consolidation of positions. So that is the main gist here. The advance to the east is around 1.3 kilometers. Towards the south is merely 400 meters. So that's about it from Oleksievka. So you can see the general situation with the Russian forces trying to consolidate the Verkine position. So the next frontline change, we jump to Dilievka. We all the way to the Torex sector of the New York front. This is Torex city, Konstantinivka. In the north of Torex, there is Dilievka. So there is this geolocation of Russian forces in the new position, confirming that the Russians have captured the entire street, the western street of Dilievka here. There is still the eastern street, which would, if the Russians capture, then it will be a full capture of Dilievka. So the advance over here is around 400 meters. So definitely the Ukrainians are defending these positions. So the Russians are not having a huge capture around here. After Dilievka, the next is at Stepanivka. So this is still in the New York front. So this is Yablunivka, where the Russians are still on the attack to capture it. But they are moving northward towards Stepanivka. This geolocation of Russian forces down the tree line or up the tree line, depending on how you interpret the map, means the Russian forces have advanced upwards, northward. The advance is around 700 meters or 800 meters. So that's the frontline change in this area here. Because I think the Ukrainians are defending too well at Yablunivka, so they're heading into a new direction. So I mean, this is generally still part of the general strategy, I believe, where the Russians are trying to, block out, Konstantinivka in a general envelopment. So this is not entirely, out of place. So after, Stepanivka, the next frontline change, we go to Fedorivka. So we skip the entire Pokrov. So it looks like we will probably see Pokrov updated in the next 24 hours, I guess. So because this is how the information seems to appear nowadays. So let me the light looks a bit bright on that side. So over in this Komar front, so this is Komar. This is Komar. In this sector here, you can see a lot of frontline changes. So I'll address them all at the same time. So this very gigantic piece here, this is a Russian claim. So based on the Russian mapping, they have claimed that the Russian forces have secured the west of Fedorivka, the west of Vasily, and the north of Bolatsky. So this is a pretty logical frontline change to me, because of this salient here looking rather impossible. It's not entirely impossible, but it's quite impossible. So this straightening of the front line, creating a bulge on the west of Vasily does make sense. It does corroborate the previous reports of fighting at Vasily. So I mean, it's not impossible that the Russians have secured this position. So this is a claim. However, on the firm side, we have the Russians' conquest of Shevchenko. This is confirmed. And this part here in the north of Bolatsky, this is mapped by the Ukrainian side, showing the Russians advance in the north of Bolatsky. But this big chunk here, like I mentioned, this is a Russian claim, but I feel like this makes perfect sense. There is nothing illogical about this. So that's the main frontline change in this sector. So Shevchenko captured, Polotsk secured, and Vasily secured, Fedorivka secured. But the Vasily wise, the Ukrainians still assert that they have control over Vasily. I just want to say the Ukrainians still claim Vasily. So you can see the divide between the Ukrainians and the Russian are pretty wide. Despite that, we have already geolocation to confirm the Russians' capture of Vasily. The advance, if the Russian claim is true, from the south all the way to the north is 5 kilometers. And then from the east to the west it could be around 3.5 kilometers to 4 kilometers. So this is a very big chunk here. This piece here is 13.3 square kilometers. So this is a big one. And over in the south of Vasily, Vinnypolye. This is Vinnypolye. The Russian forces has advanced a bit in the tree line at the south of Vinnypolye. Small one, not particularly important. The advance is probably 500 meters. So although 500 meters sounds big, but in the grand scale of this front, this is a very small one. And we move on to the next front line change over at the Zaporizhia front, over in Mala-Tomashka. So it's lagging really badly now. So let me refresh. So happy birthday to you if your birthday today, and also do press the like button, subscribe, and yeah, it's the usual. We are still going for 100,000 subs, but yeah, it's so slow, because you guys who don't subscribe. I know 50% of you guys don't subscribe. Why do you want to do this to me? So over in the Mala-Tomashka, so Russian forces has been geolocated in a new position in this town. So the loading is so slow. I don't know what I did. But anyway, I will just draw first. Russian forces, finally we have some updates advancing down Mala-Tomashka further into the town. So we have this advance. The advance is around on average 500 meters. So they are continuing to go deeper into Mala-Tomashka, and the Ukrainians clearly is doing their best to defend this town. So which is why the advance is so slow. We do not have an update here since like a long time. So this is not entirely surprising per se. So you can see the town here is pretty sparse. The Russians are heading through the town pretty slowly. Does look like pretty flat, but also when you are in this kind of terrain, snipers might be anywhere. They might be here. You do not know. Then before you know it, you are in the ambush. So it's not like entirely impossible that why this is like a very, very tough place to conquer. So we have one last frontline change after Mala-Tomashka is over at Kamyanske. So this is more of a big surprise for me, that the Russians suddenly have this big conquest of Kamyanske in this sector here. So Russian forces, according to the Ukrainian mapping, this is mapped by Deep State UA, have captured most of this outskirt in the southern half of Kamyanske. So Russian forces secured the north of Zerebianki, as well as conquered all these open grounds, and the Russians are on the verge of this full capture of the rest of Kamyanske. So this green line is where the river is. So the Russians are very, very close to the full conquest. You can see that all the outskirts here is now mapped as under Russian control. The Russians already have this part, and now they have taken the most eastern part of this southern half of the village. And if you look from this kind of perspective, there's only one crossing here. So which means this area here is probably unlikely to be under Russian control, Ukrainian control. It might be a bit difficult to cross over. Maybe they can, maybe they cannot. And definitely they will be holding a line protecting the bridgehead. The Russians are likely to just penetrate through in these areas here pretty easily, and then the battles will be around this line. So anyway, this is a big frontline change, very, very huge. This south to the north is around 2.25 kilometers. The front line is pretty wide. You're talking about a front line of 5 kilometers long. So this to this is 5 kilometers. So this is a pretty big change. This is a very big surprise when it came out. So but anyway, this all the frontline changes for the past 24 hours. So let's do some calculation. As usual, the Ukrainians captured a whopping 0 square kilometers. Yeah, which is why Zelensky is wearing a suit now. And then let's do the calculation for the Russian one. 3.03 plus 0.65 plus 16.25 plus 6.92. Total area captured is 26.85 square kilometers. Definitely on par with the expectation of 20 square kilometers. It does also cover a bit more of those that 3 days that was a bit lackluster in terms of frontline changes reporting. But anyway, that's it. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next update.